sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We have the documents, and we have resources, and we have the wherewithal, and we have, I think the kind of fearlessness and independence that is required to do difficult public corruption cases.
U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara explaining why he was taking over the anti-corruption work of Governor Cuomo's Moreland Commission.
Our interest, above all other interests, is to make sure that the job is getting done, because we're the people who do our jobs.
Sources tell CBS 2 Cuomo's recent public statements about the commission angered the top prosecutor, like this response to a demand from Republican gubernatorial opponent Rob Astorino for a special prosecutor to look into possible interference with the commission.
That's entertaining.
All right, folks. As we take a look into this and we await Rob Astorino, Westchester County Executive, Republican gubernatorial candidate, and he is now here with us. Hello, Rob. Hello, Mr. County Executive. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Good, good. All right. Of course, I finished telling the people here you're running, you're the Republican candidate for governor in New York, and we talked a couple of weeks ago, and this all comes from this Moreland Commission, which Governor Cuomo, the current Democratic governor of the state of New York, appointed to look into allegations of corruption within his own administration, and now there are all kinds of accusations that he and members of his administration strong-armed this commission and tried to get them to look the other way on certain issues. And where are we now? It seems like we've gotten a lot further into this investigation, and it's gotten a lot hotter for Governor Cuomo since we last talked. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, this is Cuomo-gate, and it's just beginning. And it's interesting that this was broken in a 3-month investigative
by the New York Times.
By the New York Times. And then for 2 weeks, it's been pounded by MSNBC, believe it or not. So, this is not some vast right-wing, experience here we're dealing with. This is the left actually doing their job. And so this is Cuomo-gate because Andrew Cuomo set up this commission to investigate corruption anywhere. He said publicly, anywhere it leads, legislature, executive branch, his office, etc. 25 members were appointed. They were all deputized under the law by the Attorney General with prosecutorial power to investigate, including issue subpoenas, compel testimony, documents, etc. Okay, they start doing their jobs, and all of a sudden the breadcrumbs start leading directly to the governor's office and to him for covering up, for pay-to-play, for active investigations into political bosses, so jobs and pension scams. And all of a sudden when that happened, the governor and his staff basically back these subpoenas, don't investigate this person, that person, make sure you do investigate this guy in the legislature, those kind of things. And he automatically then cut it off. He actually stopped the commission, shut it down, and cut a deal with the legislature. The U.S. Attorney, Preet Bharara, came out and sharply criticized the governor for doing that. Then he demanded and received all of the documents and is picking up where those investigations led off. But he also has said very publicly that the governor is being investigated, that there could be obstruction of justice and witness tampering, etc. These are serious charges, serious federal charges. We have called for a special prosecutor to be appointed by the state to see what state laws may have been broken, because there could be a scenario where some of these crimes are...
And are you also looking for a special prosecutor?
Yeah, because everyone involved is compromised. You've got the Attorney General, who is part of this. You have the District Attorney of Albany, who is and was on the Moreland Commission. He was a member. So you've got way too many people compromised, and the only way we're going to find out whether the governor broke state laws is to have an independent investigator look at this. I think it's important that whatever happens, including the federal investigation, be concluded and the results announced before Election Day. People in New York State have a right to know whether the governor is a crook, whether the governor is innocent. I think that's fair to all sides. This should be done expeditiously,
right,
and not after the election. And the thing that would be the worst case scenario is
there's an election, and then you find out after the fact.
Exactly.
It's his secretary, the secretary to the governor, who was
chief
kind of
of staff.
Yeah, okay, chief of staff. He's kind of the conduit to the Moreland Commission.
That's what they want to know, because He's the chief of staff. He called in members of the commission, and the governor directly sat down with members. And, you know, when the governor of New York is sitting there opposite you in his room and saying to you, here's my advice, here's what you shouldn't do, here are the subpoenas that should be pulled back.
Point in saying Schwartz is that he's talking to the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, correct?
Correct. Yeah, he's been. I don't know if he's been subpoenaed, but he is talking to them. Others have been subpoenaed. A grand jury has been impaneled, apparently.
Is the governor going to be talking to anybody?
Well, it's a good question. We don't know if he already has or if he will. But clearly, you know, look, there's 90 days before an election. The governor of New York has a federal prosecutor looking into him. And, you know, in all that's been said about the polling, Cuomo's numbers are not good at all. He spent $10 million, Steve, on me in the last 2 months on a vicious negative campaign, all lies, and it hasn't moved the poll numbers at all. In fact, he continues to go down. And now that this Moreland Commission is out and he's being investigated, Cuomo has taken another hit. So this is a winnable race, as I've said way before the New York Times broke this story. And, you know, in the next 90 days, it's incumbent upon us to make sure we go out and make our case and win this election, because it's winnable in New York, believe it or not. And that's why we're asking people to, you know, go to robastorino.com, donate some bucks, but get involved. That's how we win these races.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I wanted to ask you also was, are there debates scheduled between the two of you?
Well, he's a coward, so he doesn't want to debate. You know, and last year when I was running for re-election, times, because I was proud of my record. I also wanted to tell people what I would do, correct the lies from my opponent, and challenge him. And I have, you know, said to Governor Cuomo, I will debate you. Let's do 8 debates, 1 in each region of this state. And, you know, he's been mum on that. But, look, I'm ready to debate him.
So right now there are no debates scheduled?
Correct.
All right. And you hope it changes, but you have no reason to really be optimistic about that?
Well, I think he's going to have to do at least one, otherwise he'd be shamed.
All right. Now you know, there are reports, Media Research Center covers this all the time on their website, newsbusters.org and others, and they've been keeping track, and I don't think this has changed. Issue.
Right.
Are you surprised? Should they do it and not have him do it, or, you know, do it and give a disclaimer? Or
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, this is a national story. This is a governor who is reportedly getting ready to run for president if he wins. And the scrutiny has been on many other presidential candidates or potential, like Governor Scott Walker and
Chris Christie.
Chris Christie, Rick Perry. I mean, you go through it. Here you got a sitting governor in one of the biggest states in America who is directly being investigated by this in many different shows. To the New York Times credit, they've done 3 stories on this so far, extensive, and 2 editorials blasting him.
So do you believe it's directly related at CNN to the fact that Chris Cuomo is a host?
Well, it's a great point, Steve, because
I know, that's why I'm asking you.
You have to. I think so. I mean, what other reason? Why would they not cover something like this?
All right, let me ask you this: why won't Chris Christie endorse you?
You know, at the end of the day, I could care less if he does or doesn't, because politicians aren't going to.
I know, but this
Look,
is just another on my long list of what I don't like about this man. Why won't he endorse you?
What he said to say that my race is a lost cause. He has no idea about the dynamics of this race and who votes. And you know what? People thought his race was a lost cause in 2009, but the political climate then is the same as it is now, and that's how these upsets happen. And, you know, the following day, or 2 days later, by the way, is when the New York Times broke the story, which thoroughly changed this race overnight.
Right. Do you think he should be ashamed of himself?
I have said so, absolutely. I think he should have apologized. And I do believe that if he's going to be campaigning in California for a candidate who is down in the polls, if he's going to campaign in New Hampshire for a candidate who's down in the polls, then I'm not so sure why it's so difficult to drive through the Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, or I know there's traffic on the George Washington Bridge, but come across.
Ooh.
And since he's in New York often to raise money, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't.
Yeah, Rob, maybe he should resign his position too. Do you think so?
I've said it.
All right, Rob, got to go. Thank you, Rob Astorino,
Thank you,
ladies.
Steve.
Vote whether or not to impeach Barack Obama.